Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking some truly fascinating source materials surrounding Osman. You probably know him online as the Blind Muslim Yogi. We're going to take a really close look at his critical care recovery protocol. And listen, this isn't your standard everyday wellness routine. Osman is a master-level bioenergy healer. He's been practicing at an advanced level for 50 years, actually attaining his first Samadhi experience when he was just 19. So today, we're going to objectively break down his methodology. It's an approach that utilizes quantum and entanglement principles to step in during the absolute most dire life-or-death situations imaginable.
To really understand Osman's work, we've got to start at the very edge of human survival. He typically enters the picture when medical science has completely exhausted all of its options. We're talking about patients in the ICU who just aren't responding to medication anymore. The doctors have lost hope, and the patient is officially designated as a DNR, do not resuscitate. And it's exactly at this desperate, critical juncture that families reach out to him. The stakes literally could not be higher.
Section 1, the DNR intervention. Right off the bat, let's talk about the numbers. Osman reports a success rate of close to 98% for these critical care recoveries. Now, I know that might sound totally extraordinary to the average person, but Osman actually states that this is a perfectly normal outcome. You see, because he's so highly proficient in utilizing these advanced energy and quantum principles built on decades of rigorous practice, manipulating and transferring this energy cures ailments as a standard expected scientific result. So keeping his success rate comfortably above 90% is just standard for him at his level. Okay, so think about the logistics here. Because his patients are typically hours or even days away from passing, there is absolutely no time for him to hop on a plane. Instead, his emergency response relies heavily on those quantum and entanglement principles we mentioned. He claims to literally drop everything he's doing and establish a telepathic connection with the patient across physical borders. Through this connection, he rapidly transmits his own life force energy to resuscitate them.
Section 2, the 10-day protocol.
Let's trace this incredibly steep upward trajectory. On day 0, the patient is completely unconscious. They're a designated DNR, and that's when the telepathic connection begins. Fast forward just a bit to day 5, and he reports the patient is typically out of the coma. They're conscious, sitting up, and eating food. And by day 10, well, unless doctors hold them back for extra testing, the vast majority of these critically ill patients are physically walking out of the hospital. It's a literally unbelievable 10-day window, going from the absolute brink of death to just walking out the front doors.
Section 3, the healer's sacrifice. Now, what's really interesting and honestly kind of shocking about this next part is the exact opposite effect it has on the healer. Osman calls this an energy exchange, and the physical toll it takes on his own body is profound. By transferring his life force, he's essentially absorbing the severity of the patient's illness. Following a session, he reports being entirely bedridden for up to 2 weeks. We're talking about profound physical weakness to the point where he's forced to crawl on his stomach just to reach the toilet. Furthermore, he states that this massive, intense drain of his intrinsic energy is what directly caused his permanent blindness back in May of 2023. By the way, you'll often hear him describe highly visual concepts in his work, and that's because he's drawing on a lifetime of having normal eyesight prior to that date to explain these really complex processes. His own words really drive home the severity of that sacrifice. He says, "I could feel the threat of the last bit of my life. Instead of dying, I lost my eyesight instead." You know, Osman operates with the full, complete knowledge that every single time he performs this intervention, he's literally risking his own death. He views his life force as something that can be depleted to the point of no return, all to fill that energetic void in a dying patient.
Section 4, the philosophy of life.
So you might be asking, why do this? Well, Osman's primary motivation is rooted super deeply in his Islamic faith. He cites a Quranic principle that saving a single human life is equivalent to saving all of mankind. But it goes way beyond just theology. Osman is on a serious mission to encourage a highly scientific approach to life. He's literally dedicated his entire life to simplifying these complex, ancient yoga and meditation sciences into methods that anyone can apply. He doesn't just view his master-level capabilities as a cool skill. He sees it as a strict, completely non-negotiable responsibility to help society.
This brings up a really crucial dilemma. Is this an act of supreme self-sacrifice, or is it a dangerously extreme personal risk? On one hand, it's profoundly selfless. But on the other, as he totally openly acknowledges, it absolutely borders on self-harm. He even notes that the Quran forbids taking one's own life, and critics are quick to point out that his interventions risk exactly that. However, Osman reconciles this by viewing it not as a desire to hurt himself, but as fulfilling a sacred, vital duty.
He accepts the consequences, yes, even the loss of his eyesight, as the necessary cost of wielding this specific gift.
Section 5. The borrowed energy warning. Now, let's look at the aftermath, because there is a massive caveat here. Osman explains that when the patient finally leaves the hospital, they are running entirely on his borrowed energy, and that energy generally fades within 6 to 12 months. It requires no effort from the patient, but it does not last. To survive long-term, the patient absolutely must build back their own natural energy. Osman points out that our modern lifestyles severely deplete our natural energies, which is what leads to major ailments like cancer in the first place. But by committing to natural spirituality and yoga protocols, patients can actually replenish this energy. They can boost their immunity by 90% naturally, making those serious lifestyle changes to prevent regression, all without needing any external energy healing anymore.
He is extremely explicit about this warning. He tells them, once it's worn off, you're going to reach that same point again. And you can really feel Osman's deep frustration here. He explains that so many recovered patients just completely brush off his warnings. They'll attribute their sudden recovery to a spontaneous miracle instead of his intervention. They cut off all contact, and they totally refuse to change their lifestyle. Tragically, Osman notes that these patients almost always regress and pass away within that 6 to 12-month window, when that borrowed energy inevitably finally depletes.
Section 6. The price of recovery. So, what does this level of intervention actually cost? Well, while some older documentation has listed his fees a bit lower, Osman's pricing structure has recently been updated to reflect the severe physical toll and the immense demand for his time. Currently, just a voice call consultation has a minimum fee of $100,000. For a critical care recovery, which requires a minimum of 10 sessions, the fee is $1 million. And for terminal illnesses requiring a minimum of 100 sessions, the cost is $10 million. He argues that this non-invasive approach steps in exactly where traditional medicine has hit its absolute limit, offering an extreme, literal life-saving solution when all other avenues are closed. Now, through his platform at yogawellness786.com, Osman consistently reminds viewers that his natural therapies are strictly complementary. They are not medical replacements, and you should always consult with medical professionals. Crucially, though, he also provides a totally free 5-minute yoga and meditation program that you can download right from the site. For anyone wanting to learn more, he shares unique advice, direction, and techniques completely for free on his YouTube channel and on his podcast, which you can find on Apple Podcasts and Spotify by searching for The Blind Muslim Yogi. And if you're looking for more, he also offers premium live lessons, one-on-one consultations, and group sessions over on his Patreon. We'll wrap up today's explainer with the exact same question Osman himself poses. When someone is entirely out of options, and a practitioner offers to risk their own life and their eyesight to pull them back from the brink using these advanced quantum principles, what is the true value of a human life? It's a heavy thought. If you want to help Osman achieve his mission of spreading this scientific approach and reviving these ancient sciences for society's benefit across health, peace, and relationships, definitely follow his podcast on Spotify or subscribe to his YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this profound topic today. I absolutely can't wait to dive into our next explainer with you.